All right.
Hello.
Hello, welcome back to another His and Hers episode. Tommy.
Should I be like this? Or should
I
I
mean,
go
it picks
back
up, it does pick up a lot better when you're closer to the mic.
Okay, I'll talk like this.
You don't have to talk like that, but, I mean, it was getting picked up before, but it just, like, I don't know. I look at my big old arm of a microphone that you got me for Christmas, and it just makes it 10 times easier to be able to talk into the microphone, you know?
This reminds me of SNL skit when they're talking about their muffins. You ever see that one with Betty White?
No.
No. She's like talking about her muffin. It's like her salty muffins.
And she has to like bend down and speak into the mic.
No, they talk like real monotone like this. And she's like...
And she's talking about her muffins.
Yeah. And they're like, wow, do you put cherries in your muffin? And Betty White's like, I haven't had a cherry in my muffin in 30 years.
Well, I guess we're keeping that on the podcast. That's funny. Right. So naturally, following the sequence of events here, we're talking about imposter syndrome. So, Tommy, tell us, what are your thoughts on the syndrome?
Well, I don't know if I'm the right person to be talking to about that.
Every time with the puns, man. Come on.
That was a good one.
It was.
It was a layup.
Yeah.
I think any sane person is going to suffer from imposter syndrome.
Any sane person,
yeah.
Okay.
I think there are people out there that don't, that are like, no, I'm the man for the job, absolutely. And just never doubt themselves. They're just like, just do it, you know.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm so sick of running as fast as I can.
Sure.
That's Taylor Swift's "Cause I'll be the man, I'll be the man," you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think it ties in with self-doubt for sure. Even I think some of the most qualified people probably suffer from imposter syndrome too, because they're not, there's always somebody that's doing more, knows more.
Yeah. What does it feel like for you to have imposter syndrome?
Well, I don't suffer from it. It's just like it's like very serious doubt, very intense doubt over something I've done 1,000 times. You know what I mean?
Sort of, yeah.
Like I could do it 1,000 times. It could be what I do for a living. I could be doing it for 10 years. And I'll still be like, well, I'm not, am I really the one, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, okay, I think of when I post videos on TikTok, right? Like, I made 3 accounts go viral already, and like, well, is this video really that? Is it gonna be the video that's that good? Like, is it gonna be the video that brings me in 1 million, of my people? Is it gonna be the video that brings me in $1 million in sales? Like, is it like, am I doing? It's just like questioning myself. Is what it's like for me, and I feel it more prominently in like certain areas versus other areas. Like, I even think of like, okay, I'm looking at your crew pictures from when you were rowing crew in high school. There was never one point where I was like thinking to myself in the boat, what I'm doing is not contributing to us getting to the finish line. Like, there was never any thought like that ever in my mind. Like, whenever I rowed, I knew whatever it was that I was doing is going to push the boat closer to where we need to go faster. Like, I never questioned it.
Right.
But, like, if you were to ask me when I was a swimmer or when I was a cross-country runner, if what I was doing was going to ultimately be what made me faster, I'd constantly be questioning myself. Like, oh, well, I could do more steady state running, or I could, work on my form more for my butterfly stroke, like, there was, like, well, what if I'm not moving my arms the right way? Or what if I'm not, what if my gait is too big or too small or too, like, those things always constantly came up when I was doing something else. But, like, put me in a boat, put an oar in my hand, I was like, just go. Like, don't question. Like, there was never a point in my mind during a race, during practice, where I would ever question anything. I think that's where, like, for me, the imposter syndrome comes in.
Well, I just thought of there was an Onion article that was the headline was just you're an imposter and everybody knows it, or you're. I think that's a big part of it too. Is that everybody's gonna find out what an imposter you are, and it's gonna be super embarrassing. It's almost like a bad dream. Like it's the day of the test and you didn't study, and also you don't have any pants on, and also you're in the wrong school, and it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have to wonder, like, you bringing that up, it kind of is bringing some vibes of, like, okay, there is a lot of, I don't know how much of this you see on a daily basis, but I see a shitload of it on a daily basis of, like, people who are basically, I would call it, like, slinging snake oil, and, like, you could tell that they're just regurgitating information in their content. Like, you could tell that none of it's original. You could tell that they're copycatting. I call it copycat marketing, right? So, like, that fake quality, or, like, that regurgitated quality, like, how does one, I mean, I have to wrap my mind around it. This could probably go into a much deeper conversation. Like, how do you not feel like an imposter when you're regurgitating somebody else's content?
Right. Well, how many accounts just repurpose, like, not even the same ideas, like other people's videos? Like, you see, I see a lot of, like, these influencers or whatever, and there's different 5 or 6 different accounts that are posting the same thing, like the same videos.
I do that too.
It's not even like they're but it's not like a repost. It's like, no, I posted that this account is coming. It's almost like it wants you to believe that it's coming from this account because it wants the likes and it wants the follows and it likes it. So you think you're following, like, you're, I always think like the couples that record each other.
Yeah.
Like, there's like 5 or 6 different accounts and they all have different names and they're all spelled differently, or they're spaced, or
or they have like a period in between.
Yeah. You're just blatantly stealing someone's identity for
but like
likes and subscriptions.
It just doesn't compute. Like, the math doesn't math in my head when I think about somebody who's going to build a business and they just literally regurgitate the same points and the same topics as somebody else. Like if I were to hold up my phone right now and say, this is what you're missing when you want to hit 10K months. Like, you and I have had 2 back-to-back 10K months in 2021. October and November of 2021, we had 2 back-to-back 10K months. But, like, I'm not going to sit there and talk about how we made $10,000 in every single piece of my fucking content, because I feel like that's lazy. But there's a lot of people who are like, this is what you're missing when you want to make 10K, 20K, 30K, 50K, whatever the hell fucking K months.
It's all recycled. It's almost like plagiarizing yourself.
Like, right, but it's not even just plagiarizing yourself, but, like, now you're stealing it from other people. Like, they're all doing the same thing, right? So, like, how do you... maybe this is just me in my head, but, like, in a conceptual way, right? If I were posting that kind of content, how would I not feel like an imposter?
Right, but those people don't.
I just don't get it.
They don't suffer from that.
How do they not?
It's the people that put the authentic stuff out that are like, is this good enough? Is this on point? Is this the...
Why do you think that?
Well, because those other people just keep doing it, and obviously there's no, they have no remorse. They're not taking it down anytime soon. They're just, whereas, regular people just will post something and get frustrated. If it doesn't get liked right away, maybe, but it's like, I don't know. It's easy once. I feel like the people that are doing the work are the ones who have to, like, second guess themselves, because it's like the scientific method. You have a theory, it's tested out. You do it.
You test the hypothesis.
Right, and it's work, and you're like, well, did I miss this? Do I have to go back and do the back? And then once you iron everything out, somebody can very easily now just grab that
and then just run with it.
They know it works.
Right.
Because you did all the work.
Right. I just love that you bring that up, because it literally reminds me about how every time we had a group fucking project in school, I was the one doing the work. And, like, there were so many kids who would just like capitalize on it. Not so many necessarily, but you know, whoever else was in my group, right? Like, it doesn't work that way. But I can see now why that person would feel like an imposter, because I must have done something wrong. It's probably what they're thinking in their head.
Right, and then that person the person that steals it from you has success, and you're like,
right.
well, they must know something.
They must know something I don't. Right. But really, you laid out the entire step-by-step process.
Really, they know nothing, but they just
right. They just took the end result and ran with it.
Right, and because you, in order to get to that end result, had to make mistakes so many times. Now that other person who just takes the right answer from you, they haven't had the experience of the mistakes, and they haven't had the self-doubt, like, oh, am I even smart enough to do it, right? Like nights, like staying up nights and staying up and trying to figure the stuff out and making mistakes and, oh, well, this is that and that. And you have to make mistakes to figure something out that's original. And, once people grab it, now they've gotten the same amount of likes and follows and whatever as you have, and they've made none of the mistakes.
And they're making money.
So their confidence is through the roof.
Right, and they're making money, which really tosses it over the edge.
And they think what they've done, they were in the right place at the right time. And,
right.
What a sucker that guy was for doing all that work. And
so I have to wonder, like, talking through all of this, do you think that gives them an edge? Like, are they going in with a particular mindset that gives them an edge on the person who actually takes the time to work through something step by step? Like, are they streamlining the process because they're essentially able to just kind of like swoop in, take it, and then run with it? Or are they going to essentially get found out one day, do you think?
I think especially on online space, it's hard to get found out.
Well, yeah, because there's really no guidelines quite yet.
Yeah, no, it's all pretty loose, with what's allowed and it's like you're running a race with somebody and they get in a car and drive around to the finish line, and then and they're celebrating with everybody and popping champagne, and you arrive 20 minutes later and then you feel like a failure, and you actually ran the race. You actually did the work, and you
Yeah, you put on those shoes and you actually ran around the track.
Right.
Versus hopping in your car.
Right. And you took a shortcut. You have somebody hiding, around the corner with a car waiting for you or something,
Yeah. I love that analogy of like going with the scientific method, because I was using that the other day. I was like talking about content with a couple of women in my accountability group, and I was like, we're just scientists. That's really all that we are. And you just have to test everything. Like, you test everything, and then you come back and you look at your findings, right? And you go over your analytics and you see what works and what doesn't, and you do it again. You do what works again.
Yeah, I mean, there's a science to, I mean, we were talking about crew earlier. There's definitely a science to rowing. There's a science to everything. That if you want to pick it apart and find the best way to do it, there's a science to it.
Yeah.
And the art of something too is, the creative process.
Yeah. And now that I'm going through my NLP certification, I almost feel like a lot of this is also like unraveling certain stories and beliefs in your mind that you have, like, about yourself or about others or about whatever, because even like in terms of like crew, right? There was never one story that I ever told to myself that I was like, oh, I can't do this. I always said to myself that I was going to be an Olympic rower. I was going to win gold medals and da-da-da-da. And like in 2019, I had that national championship win, right? But like, it came down to what I was also feeding my mind. If you're feeding questions and like doubt to your mind, naturally you are going to, suffer from imposter syndrome. Right. So what would be, if you had to give like 3 takeaways or like 3 steps to get out of imposter syndrome, what would they be?
The first thing that pops in my head is don't think so much.
Stop thinking.
Because your brain, your brain can turn, it can turn on you. Your thoughts can turn on you, and it's, if you're not very careful, people lose it over stuff like that, and then, it keeps them up, and it's all they can think about, and they obsess, and then it leads to physical health and issues, and
Yeah.
you really have to just let it be. And if somebody does do something like that to you, you can't obsess with it over it. You can't go after them. You can't try to do the same thing to them, because they know they'll see you coming. You know what I'm saying? Because now you're playing their game.
Right.
And I guess just be confident in yourself. If you're a good person, you're doing the work.
It'll eventually pay off.
And it's going to pay off. Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of like energetic karma.
And protect yourself too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Find a way to protect your
IP,
creative,
your intellectual property.
Yeah.
I like that. The energetic karma. I've had that conversation like so many times because I've invested so much. And you and I have talked about this. I was like crying at this point last year, like bawling in my car on the phone with you about it. And I was like, I just don't understand why I just can't add a 0 or 2 to the amount that I've invested and put it in my pocket,
Right.
And it's coming. It's that energetic karma is coming. It's like a matter of like pushing down the one little domino that's gonna,
And if you follow any kind of motivational quote things on social media, I'm sure you've heard that, it's kind of a cliche at this point, but nobody who's doing more than you is going to criticize you.
Oh, yeah.
It's only people that do less than you.
Right.
So when you get, if you see somebody that's, above you or was at that level or like, in your case, like somebody who's coaching you or teaching you.
Yeah, I mean, that is interesting. Like,
and
why
you
would
see them start to like hone in on you and focus on what you're doing and say negative things about you. Well, they know you're coming for their spot, Yeah. So they want you to feel like an imposter because they want to get rid of the competition.
That's just so depressing because how many people say a rising tide lifts all ships?
Right.
I feel like that's just a ploy. It's a facade.
Right. And you could be helping each other, and that's the way of the world. You think, it's an old saying too. I mean, I can rattle off 1,000 cliches for you, but there's another one that burning your neighbor's house down doesn't make yours look any better, right? And if you think about it, it's going to bring your property value down. It's not going to help you at all.
Yeah.
But so many people, they can't do it for themselves. So they want to eliminate the competition so that nobody else does it either.
That's sad.
Yeah.
That's so sad to me. But it's profound because it's truth.
It's, some people live by that dog eat dog mentality, and it's tough for good people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there are people out there who do believe that a rising tide will and does lift all ships, but those are the good people.
Right.
And like they're not outwardly saying they're not on their social media posting a rising tide lifts all ships,
Right.
They keep that to themselves, I feel like, because they're invested in humanity and they would never glorify it or glamify it in front of everybody else.
Right. But the problem is, if you don't do something with it, if you don't say copyright it or protect your like you said, intellectual property, somebody else can snatch it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So if you want it to be used for the greater good, you have to
copyright it.
You have to monetize it. You have to trademark it. You have to, make it yours, make it known to the world that it's yours, and then say, this is for the good of everybody. I don't want to charge anybody. It's all for free. It's on my site, But you can't make it free, really, because then somebody can just take it and then it's theirs too.
Right, but that also entails going through the legal process, and nobody talks about that because why would they ever talk about that? That's not going to lead them to $100,000 months.
Right.
Talking about social media and how to go viral and how to do this and build your signature methodology. Like that's what sells, right?
But not going through it is going to lead to that
to
for somebody else.
A lot of problems. Like you have to I think back to when we first filled out our LLC. I worked with a lawyer. Her name was Alyssa, and we got our LLC, and I told her, I was like, listen, I want to go through the trademark for this, and I want to go through copyright for this, and we had to actually go back and forth for a little while, because what I wanted to originally get the copyright and trademark for was already taken. So, like, I had to figure something else out, and, like, that takes time. And it took about probably the better part of, like, 3 months to finally land on something that we were going to be able to get the trademark for, but, like, you're right, like, if you don't grab it while it's there, it's even, like, it reminds me of, like, website domains,
Yeah.
Like, if you don't think of, like, if you don't take it while it's there, especially if it's a .com, it's gone, So, those are really good points to bring up. Do you have anything else that you want to add?
No, I don't think so. I did have a thought before, but I lost it. Yeah, you just gotta protect yourself.
Yeah, heard that.
Who's here?
I want to say it's maybe your sisters.
Are we being robbed right
I don't know. They're all upstairs. It's so hard to tell.
Well, anyway, we'll deal with it when the podcast is over.
This was fun, Tommy.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming on and talking about imposter syndrome. Tommy, I like these episodes.
It's good times. I still feel like the SNL skits. I'm talking real low like this, like the
cherry in your muffin,
or the Alec Baldwin one that he comes on. He's like, I'm Peach Sweaty, here to promote my sweaty balls.
Oh my god. Balls. There's a whole conversation around lady balls that we'll eventually have to get to one of these days. But yeah, if you enjoyed this His and Hers episode, if you enjoy the His and Hers episodes, please let us know. You could send us a DM. I'm going to put all of our information in the show notes. And we'd love to hear your feedback on them. We'd love to hear if you enjoy them. I think it's nice to have Tommy provide a different perspective of, like, the online world sometimes. And some of these things that you say, you hit the nail so on the head, and, like, you're not necessarily part of the world, but you're, like, part of the world, and you just see it. So it's nice to, like, hear a couple of those other, what do you call them, idioms? I don't know.
I hear a lot of it from what you're
me?
doing, and I hear a lot of bits and pieces, and try to put it all together. But
yeah, the one thing that you were talking about before we close out, you were talking about burning your neighbor's house down doesn't make your house look any better. That one really, I don't know, it struck a chord with me, and it actually made me think of something, but now I forget, because my thoughts come in and go out just as quick as yours do sometimes.
A lot, we're talking about a lot of different things, and I'm trying not to just trying to listen too, and then I get caught up in what you're saying, and then I forget what I was talking about.
Yeah, it's like it's like when you're, I don't know if you think visually, but, like, sometimes I get pictures of things when you say things, and I'm like, oh my god, I have to remember to talk about it because I just had a picture in my head,
Isn't it funny how you're like, oh, I'll definitely, there's no way I'll forget to say that, and then, like, 20 seconds later, it's just gone completely forever.
Oh yeah, it's pretty funny. But it's even funnier when, like, you hear something and it brings a visual to your head, and then it just, like, everything is just gone. The thought, what you thought you were going to say, the vision, like, all of it, gone.
Dreams are only like 2 to 3 seconds long.
I believe that. I had this...
Even if you feel like you're in them for, like, 3 years.
Oh my god, I believe that.
Yeah.
You hear me blowing my beautiful nose? I almost don't want to take it out. All right, Tommy, this was great. Thank you for tuning into a His and Hers podcast. Let us know what your thoughts are. Tag us in your stories with your takeaways, and we will talk to you very soon.
Bye.